You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
It's Not Your Fault is a podcast for parents, caregivers, and young people navigating the world and its challenges. Here's your host, Brandon Jones.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another installment of It Is Not Your Fault, a teen mental health podcast. I am your host, Brandon Jones, and in today's episode, we are talking about how parents need to pay close attention to the habits of their teens or children. Parents, caregivers, youth workers, all the folks who are focusing in on helping young adolescents develop into healthy, productive adults. This is the podcast for you. And we're going to dive into an article that featured a psychologist by the name of Angela Duckworth. Angela Duckworth. I believe I have covered some of Professor Duckworth's work before, but there's an article that recently popped up that I wanted to cover and go a little bit deeper into. And the title of the article was Great Parenting Often Comes from Simple Habits. Great parenting often comes from this simple habit. This simple habit. So we're going to look at, what does that mean? Are you already doing that habit? And if you're not, as always, I give a little bit of tips on how you can start to implement that in your life to have that impact and effect on the young people around you. So let's start off with this. Duckworth's research suggests the greatest parenting doesn't stem from picking the right activities or forcing achievement. Instead, it begins when you attend what your teen already shows interest in. According to the article, there were kind of three key points that I wanted to pull up and share with you all today about that article. The first one was, when you watch what captures your child's attention without promoting and what they do when no one is watching, you can discover their genuine interests. I recently have implemented this in my own home. I like to use my children as examples, especially the older two. I have a 12-year-old and I have an almost 10-year-old. So they're not quite in the high teens just yet. They're in the preteen area. But a lot of the things that I share in the podcast end up showing up. My 12-year-old does not like school. She's a good student, very intelligent. She gets her work done for the most part, like any other teen. But she's very adamant that she hates school. If she can do something other than go to school, the dentist, get shots, something like that kids typically don't like to do, she will choose that over school any day. She's made it very clear already. She does not want to go to college when she's done with high school, and she wants to be done with school and figure out the rest of her life. She's made it very clear. And I don't think she's going to change because she's always been against school. And one of the things that myself and my co-parent, what we've thought about is we have to lean into her interests, especially if she does not want to go to college. How can we leverage her talents and skills so that she starts off her young adult life in a productive and healthy way? And one thing that we learned is she's a really good artist. And we started to invest in different things to help develop her skill set as an artist. Now, does that mean that she's going to be Van Gogh or Picasso? Absolutely not. But she may find herself in some sort of graphic career or something like that, where she can, leverage and find a way to make a living. We don't know yet, but that's one of the things that just kind of naturally came out of anywhere. Is like she has she's very disciplined and very talented in her art. All right, two more things from the article. Not only that, but also helping the teens stick with an activity through challenges or boredom builds resiliency. It's very important that you don't let your kids just quit. In today's society where things are instant, rapid, and easily assessed, kids will hit a pause button or a eject or escape button very quick, and they will stop. They will hit the delete button, and they will stop in this virtual world. So being able to help young people stick with things and ride it out helps them develop what is called grit. Helps them develop what is called grit. So that's an important thing to do. And then the key components of grit are identified as interest, practice, purpose, and hope. Interest, practice, purpose, and hope. So ultimately, what Duckworth was saying in the article was that we have to build this kind of flow chart of habits. And it goes from observe, encourage, let them persist. That's the sequence. That's the habit sequence. Observe, encourage, let them persist in their own interests. This is what we have to do, parents, caregivers, youth workers, to help young people. We have to observe, encourage, and let them persist. Let them try it out, let them figure it out, etc. Now it's interesting because right in the middle is something that I talk about all the time on the podcast, encouragement. And I tell you all the school of discipline that I come from in psychology is from Adler Graduate School. I'm an Adlerian psychologist. And one of our more famous quotes from Alfred Adler in that thought process, that philosophy, is encouragement to a child is like water to a tree. And some people modify and say water to a flower or water to a plant. But that ultimately means that encouragement, that connection, that push, that affirmation, that attention that the adults give to the young people is key. It's right smack dab in the middle of this and helping them get to where they need to go. So again, that sequence is observe, encourage, and let them persist in those interests. That's what we have to do. That's the habit that we have to form in order to motivate and keep young people going forward. Why does this matter for teens? Why do we have to observe, engage, and let them persist in the things they're interested in? Well, teens face the rapid change in those teenage years, the rapid change of identity, the social pressures, the emotional turbulence, the frustration, the anger, the puberty, the changes in your skin because of acne and all things. They're going through all types of stuff. And as they're going through all types of these things, it leads to things like deep encouragement, which is what they're going to need, because sometimes their motivation is lacking. They feel depressed, and they're going to need some deep encouragement. So that's one of the benefits. What is deep encouragement? So when teens pursue what they genuinely care about, they're more engaged, motivated, and willing to work through hiccups. Okay. Also, one of the benefits of this is resilience. So sticking with something, even when it's tough. Youth workers, young people, or not young people, people that work with young people, caregivers and parents, we gotta let them tolerate their frustrations, their failures, and setbacks. Let them fail. Let them fail. That's gonna help build that grit. That's gonna help them move forward, right? As long as it's not harming them in any way, let it happen. Even if you see it happen, you might be one of those parents where you're like, "See, I told you so. You wasn't listening. I told you so." Let them do what they need to do. And the last one is transferable skills. The skills focused on perseverance. I can't even get the word out. Perseverance. They will learn to carry with them through academics, through relationships, and through life. So perseverance. I couldn't get it out. So perseverance. So the things that they do today to help them persevere through what's going on will show up in their academic journey, their relationship journey, and just their life journey in general. So, these habits for teens move beyond what they should do and more towards what they want to explore. And this ultimately helps them to support their actual growth. How parents and caregivers can develop this habit. So this is where we come in. How can we do this to help encourage the outcomes of our young people, and why is this important? If we don't do these things, we are at risk of our young people developing more anxiety, developing more depressive symptoms, and more isolation. So we need to make sure that we are showing up, we're modeling healthy behaviors, and we're pushing these young people to the best of our ability. So again, create a calm time for observation. Set aside periods where you're not directing activities, simply just being a parent and you're just hanging out, chilling, and observing what's going on. You can ask them open-ended questions at this point, like what drew you back to this hobby again, or what part of this is the most fun, or what part of this is the most challenging. You can avoid jumping into straight solutions with things. Let stuff play out. Let them kind of figure out things, and then just let them talk and reflect on what's going on. This is something that we're talking about adults, but this is something that we see with younger kids too, where they'll just bring you the stuff that they are frustrated with. A 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, like, here, mom, here, dad, here, caregiver, fix this. And at that point in time, you have to turn it back to the young person and say, work on it. You try it first. Show me how you can fix it first. Because you want them to get into the space of building those habits that they don't need to just come to an adult or an authority figure to fix everything. They may have the tools and the ability and the thought process to do it themselves. So you're forming habits even early. All right. Number 2, watch for clues. What they do not, or what they do unprompted is important. What tabs they're opening on their devices, what books and videos that they're watching or revisiting. If they skip tasks that they've chosen themselves, what changed? Why are they not, acting in the same behavior as they normally would? Are they bored? Are they stuck? Have they lost interest? Keep a mental note or a simple log of recurring interests is something you also can do to make sure you're helping them stay on track and they're growing and developing these skills as they go. All right, a few more. Offer support, but don't pressure them. So once they're interested, their interest is visible, help them gather resources for that. Books on it, classes on it, maybe groups that they can join. They can connect with other people, whether that's online or offline. All those things are good. And then also resist saying things that force them not to make decisions and you are making all the decisions. Like, you don't want to say things like, you must stick with this, or you don't want to say things like, if you choose this, then how shall we support you through the rough parts? Like, you want to utilize language that's a little bit more supportive as you're engaging with these young people. And then frame your role as advisor and not the director. You're here to oversee and make sure everything's okay, but you're not dictating the actions. All right, 2 more. Teach it. Teach what takes it to stick. Like, how do you help them? So use language that frames challenges as part of a process and not as a failure. They're not doing something right. Maybe they might have failed at it, but you don't want them to feel like a failure. You want them to understand this is part of the process, part of the journey. Everything's not going to be right, and you can continue to move forward. Help teams reflect on what. Help them reflect. You might want them to answer a question like, well, what worked last time? Why is it working this time? And how could I do this differently than what I've done it before? So reflection is good as well at this point. You want to teach them to stick with it, understand why things are working or why they're not working, so they're not just giving up, being frustrated, and leaving to another activity. And then the last thing that I would say is just stay patient and adaptable. So instead of a young person getting stuck on one thing, they may have different interests, and interests may shift, and that's okay. You can make that happen. But as you're shifting, what matters is the process of exploration and not just the persistence. So understanding how are they going from one thing to the next, and they're not just stuck. Don't get mad at them for quitting to do one thing. Help them find another interest as quickly as possible, and let's get them on that groove to being engaged in another thing. And then I would also say the last thing is just maintain a curiosity and open posture. You want to make sure that you're open and that you're inviting these young people in. I noticed that you're exploring. You might say things like, what's surprising to you? You want to just be curious and let them invite you into their world a little bit on what they're thinking and how they feel, instead of you telling them things about what they're doing and how they feel. So, my final thoughts is, if you're a parent, caregiver, or youth worker, you hold a powerful key that the habit of watching and supporting your team, your teen, emerging interests and helping them build the stamina to follow through. Sometimes we have to not force things and pay attention to what our kids like and how do we support those things. Sometimes it's sports, sometimes it's some sort of science, sometimes it is some sort of other activity or hobby. And let's be honest, sometimes it's bed, because some of these kids don't want to do nothing but play video games out of bed. But that video game may lead to something that is a little bit more intriguing, like designing video games or tech or AI or whatever the case may be, virtual reality. Help them learn about those things too. Don't just let them sit idle. By shifting from being the manager of activities to the observer of interest, parents can ultimately help teens navigate the boring middle of mastery. And what it will do is really set them up for success, and not just in school, but hopefully for the rest of their lives. So that's what we really want to do here, is help set up young people to be successful as they move forward. All right, so developing a habit of observation and what that means can be significant to the young people in your life. If you enjoyed today's podcast, we want to encourage you to hit us up at 3 other spaces and places. The first is going to be the Facebook group, where you can just type in "It's Not Your Fault Podcast" right there on Facebook, and you can find us there. You can subscribe, find good content like what we share with you today, old episodes, and other cool resources right there on Facebook. The second place, if you want to reach out to me directly, is at my personal website, jegna.org. That's JEGNA.org. 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 Feel free to send me questions there or learn more about the work that I do. And then the last place that's very important to understand is, if you like me, you're probably going to like some other podcasters that we have here on the network. What is that network? It is ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. Check us out and find some good people doing good things to help you feel better about what you got going on. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us today. Again, thank you for stopping by. It Is Not Your Fault, a teen mental health podcast. I am Brandon Jones, and I want to wish and hope that you have a very no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say this. You will be safe, you will be constructive, and you will be well. How about that? So we'll see you next time on the podcast. Take care.
To check out previous episodes of It's Not Your Fault, or to learn more about Brandon Jones, log on to ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
Ready to go? At Metro Transit, we are. With more routes to more places, easy ways to pay, and more convenient options, we're ready to go further. Go easier. Go faster. Go, go, go. And go. We're ready to go. Are you?
Hey y'all, it's Shaletta. I'm an entrepreneur just like you, and I get it. As a small business owner, we just don't have enough time in the day to apply for grants. It's not that we don't need the money. We just don't even know how to write all the essays and all the other forms and stuff they're asking us for. It is overwhelming. But that's not the case with the Minnesota Promise Act grant. Round 2 is happening right now. If you've got a business in certain parts of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Greater Minnesota, there's more than $60 million available to help grow your company. And listen, I understand y'all's reservations, because applying for grants ain't easy. That's why Neighborhood Development Center has trained staff to help you fill out the application. They've got appointments open now for you to go in and get the process started. Get in touch with them by going to mnpromiseact.org. And don't wait, because the deadline is December 14th.